What is going on, guys? It's Kitten Doom, and in today's video I am gonna be going over Conquest, and basically I wanted to make this video to help newer players to Conquest, and especially newer players to Smite in general, because Conquest is Smite's main game mode. So I thought it'd be important to, update a guide to help people, and because there's a new map, it can be pretty confusing. So this is going to be kind of just like a tour and me showing you where everything is and what everything does, and give other tips to do in Conquest. So in Conquest there are two sides. It's a 5v5 game mode and you start out at level 1. So a big difference from the previous Season 4 Conquest map is it's completely visually overdone. Things are moved, buff camps look different. Pretty much everything on the map looks different, including titans, minions, and all the camps. But it's 5v5 and you have 3 lanes. You have tier 1 and tier 2 towers, as well as a phoenix. And you have to kill all of the towers and kill a phoenix to be able to get to the titan and win. You don't have to kill all 3 phoenixes, but it's definitely easier to kill the titan if you have all 3, but that's definitely not something that you have to do. And I picked Jingwei so we can fly around really quick and show you everything. So this is mid lane, and in mid lane you typically have your mage here, and right now the mage is kind of farming by themselves because the jungler has a bunch of jungle camps to clear all the time. So mid will stay here most of the time, farm and rotate around if he sees any skirmishes in the jungle, but mid's one of your carries that does some of the most damage. So in mid lane you want to rotate over and take these mid harpy camps as much as possible, and you can share this camp with your ADC, which is the red buff. The red buff is for the mid laner and carry, and the carry is always a hunter, or carry can even be a mage with high auto attack damage. A Chronos Freya Soul kind of thing. Red buff gives you a 20% damage increase and 10 magical power and 5 physical power. So you always want to pick this up whenever it's available. Just gives you some more damage and physical or magical power. So I'd always give that to your ADC or your jungler. I'm just gonna kill this cuckoo so he can stop pushing down my towers while I'm talking about this. But this is the purple buff, and purple buff gives 10 protection reduction and 5% protection reduction aura. It's generally picked up by your guardian, since they're around and close enough to enemy gods to apply the protection reduction. But hunters can also pick this up if red buff isn't available. Here is what the minions do. They always clash, but of course if they have like yourself or an enemy god pushing lanes, it's easier to push up into the tower. Right now we'll just show you one of the towers. This is the duo lane, so most of the time your carry, which is your hunter a lot of the times, and your support, which is all guardians, or it can be warriors. I've seen rarely mages in the duo lane, kind of like support mages like Afro or Hell, or even Guan Yu and Amaterasu have been supports. So always with towers, you want minions to go into the tower line before you get in there, because towers have backdoor protections. So as you can see right now, I'm only doing 69 damage to this tower, but once my minions go into it, I'll be doing a lot more damage, because it's something to protect against gods just, going in there without minions. So now my autos are doing 114. So always try and push your minions in there because to get rid of backdoor protections. Another important thing about this map is the buff camps on both sides are completely symmetrical, so there's not any, you know, different rock that's different from the other side. So the things are always in the same place, which is a really nice change. Here on the duo side of the map is the Gold Fury and the Gold Fury Oracles, which are these two little guys right here. Killing the Gold Fury Oracles gives you a permanent, well, not permanent, but semi-permanent sentry ward that can't be destroyed. So it'll give you vision over the Gold Fury, which is really important because you don't want the enemy team sneaking this Gold Fury and taking this objective for themselves. It's always important to have your Guardian or even like jungler or even yourself ward the Gold Fury. Big thing about the Gold Fury is it gives you and your team a big gold spike, and the more gold you have, the more items you can have over your opponent. And in Smite, items are really important. They give you big power spikes, give you a big advantage if your opponent hasn't built as much items as you. So always keep in mind that this is an important objective, and usually, this is a kind of early to mid game objective. It's not as important in late game because you'll have most of your items, but if you can get away with it, feel free to kill it for the extra gold if you need, you know, like your last item or something. But in early to mid game, it's really tanky, so you're gonna need more than one person to help you out, and lifesteal definitely helps killing this because once you're a lower level, it does actually a lot of damage to you. So once you kill it, it does a global audio sound like this, and so that lets the whole map know that you just took the Gold Fury. So it's kind of a nice sound cue to let the enemy team know, like, oh, they just took this and we weren't there, or, you know, it'll just kind of let everyone know that it was taken. And here are some back harpy camps. Just, you know, pick these up whenever either ADC or mid can just go to those back camps and pick them up for extra XP. I think in Season 5 it's really important to farm really well. And the oracles spawn at 35 seconds, Gold Fury spawns at 5 minutes, and the Pyromancer and Fire Giants start spawning at 10 minutes, and I'll show you what those look like. All buffs spawn every 2 minutes, so that's like the red buff, the purple buff, the speed buff, and the blue buff. So they're definitely up more often, so which is nice. The XP on them is reduced just because of how often they're up. So let's go over to the speed buff. Speed buff is mainly for your jungler, and it gives a 15% movement speed buff. So movement speed's insanely important for junglers, just so they can rotate, you know, to where they need to be and farm and gank. So if you're not the jungler, which is normally an assassin, or it can be some other type of role, but normally it's assassin, don't ever take your jungler speed buff because it's important for them to farm and rotate, you know, to help you and your team out with ganks and a bunch of other things. And that I just killed over there was the blue buff. Blue buff gives you mana regeneration, so it's 25 MP5 and 10% cooldown reduction, and that mainly goes to your solo laners. Solo laners are normally your warriors, and, you know, basically every role can have any class of god, but generally it's warriors in solo lane, mages in mid lane, ADC, which is hunters, and guardians are in the duo lane. And whenever you can actually rotate or like out clear and steal the enemy's buffs, it can be a huge help to you to get more XP and take away XP for them to gain. So if you ever find your position where you can safely take one of their buffs, go ahead and do it. Now on the solo side of the map, which is right of mid lane and left of solo lane, you'll find the Pyromancer and the Fire Giant. So Pyromancer is right here, and it basically gives you a huge movement speed buff once you return from Fountain, and I'll show you what that looks like. It basically gives you old Swiftwing, and these are his attacks, and he does some, you know, different attacks, but mostly just like this. He's not too hard to take down, but generally you want, you know, 2 people or even 3 people if it's earlier in the game to mid game to help you kill that. Alright, and I'll cancel Jingwei passive. So right now you can see this little buff that I have, and it gives me a lot of movement speed outside of the fountain. Usually it gets you to around your tier 1 tower. So this is it taking place of the portal demon, which used to just give you a portal back to that location. And here are the other mid harpies. And forgot to mention, speed buff has been moving from here to back there just to help reduce the amount of speed camp invades to make junglers behind. So I thought that was a really good thing that Hyros did. Another important thing I forgot to mention is wards. So you'll find wards in the consumables, and wards basically give you vision of enemies where they are at the map, and it does not see through walls, and it remains on the map for 3 minutes or until it's killed by another enemy god, which they can only be revealed with sentry wards. So sentry wards basically are there to view any enemy wards, and it's important to put sentry wards in normally the Gold Fury pit and the Fire Giant pit, so that you can see if they've placed a ward, because you don't want them to have vision of the Fire Giant. So generally right here is a pretty good ward spot. I'm gonna go kill this Kukulkan really quick. Alright, heading back over there. Sorry, guys. And then generally put some normal wards wherever you want to see or scared of getting ganked from someone. Generally, kind of around here is a good idea, just to see if you're gonna get ganked from over here, like if you're in mid lane, or if you want to see where they are on this side of the map. And that's for like mid, but ward placements haven't been necessarily confirmed yet, because there's a lot of different places you can ward, but you definitely want to ward around the Fire Giant and the Gold Fury just to make sure the enemy team doesn't get these objectives. So Fire Giant is another huge objective that you can gain. Pyromancer gives you a little bit of gold and some XP, but not as much gold as the Gold Fury. So Fire Giant gives you a big power and damage increase to towers and health regen. So if you are kind of stuck in the game and you want to like siege a Phoenix but you're having difficulties, it's really important to try and kill the Fire Giant so you can have that extra damage to towers and you have that health regen and damage increase.
Going up.
So in Season 5 they made it really difficult to solo the Fire Giant just because of that like orb attack that he has. But generally, like late game, Hunters can do it. So right now I have that Fire Giant buff because it's that circle around me. And that helps you and your team deal more damage to Phoenixes and any towers. Now we're just going to go down and show you what it's like to kill a Phoenix. So since we got tier 1 and tier 2 towers over here, we got the Phoenix, and once you kill a Phoenix, see I'm doing 162 instead of 114 with Fire Giant buff, just showing you it does more to towers. Once you kill a Phoenix, you will spawn friendly fire minions, and fire minions have a lot more health than normal minions, and they do a lot more damage. So taking Phoenixes is extremely important just to help you push into the enemy's base. And obviously to win a Conquest game, you have to kill the enemy Titan, which is, you know, at the very back of each base, and this is what the Chaos Titan looks like. And to kill the Titan, you have to kill at least one Phoenix. I think I mentioned that earlier. Another important thing to remember is in Season 5, they've given minions more health. So the minions are more tanky, but they do less damage to gods now. So it's not going to be as punishing if you're trying to like kill the other enemy god through their minions. Like they won't do as much damage to you, but it's still pretty risky, so just keep that in mind. Minions also gain XP as the time goes on, so as the later on the game gets, you'll get more XP from minions. In Smite, you actually don't have to last hit as well, but it does give you a little bit, I believe it does give you a little bit more gold if you do last hit. But generally, it's easy to last hit when it's like mid to late game because your abilities will just clear the whole wave. You want to keep minions out of your tower line as well, because if a tower hits a minion, you won't get as much gold for it. This Kukulkan really is but you won't, yeah, you won't get as much gold for it. But you'll still get some. They changed that rule to help snowballing, which snowballing is basically, you know, when someone gets so much XP and gold over you that they're just impossible to deal with. And you do get some XP and gold when killing an enemy god, so definitely killing gods and your enemies will help you get ahead. Another huge thing about Season 5 that's drastically different from Season 4 Conquest is they've gotten rid of all the previous Season 4 starter items, which was basically like Bumba's Mask, Bluestone Pendant, Death's Toll, Sands of Time, Soulstone. They got rid of all of that and just added blessings. And you can only pick from 5 blessings, and you can only buy 1 blessing at a time. So the blessings are Assassin's Blessing, which is basically old Bumba's Mask. Gives you 35 bonus damage versus jungle monsters, 7% health restored when killing a jungle monster, and 20% mana restored. This basically helps junglers stay in the jungle and get health back after, you know, getting hit by the camp. Blessings have role quests now, which the Assassin Blessing role quest is kill or assist jungle monsters or enemy gods to gain stacks. Jungle monsters are worth 1 and enemy gods are worth 5. At 50 stacks, Assassin's Blessing evolves getting 10 penetration. So penetration's really good on assassins. It helps them shred through protections, shred through tanks, and you want to evolve your blessings so you can get that extra perk. Next up is Guardian's Blessing. Oh, hold on.
Your Titan is under attack.
You have slain an enemy.
No. So yeah, fire minions. This is a good example of fire minions actually. So this is what they look like. They have like fire bows and fire swords. They do a ton of damage, so you want to make sure you kill them beforehand before they get to your Phoenix, just like that. Minions can, you know, take their own towers by themselves. Phoenixes actually don't respawn back at full health like you saw, so Phoenixes gain health over time. So that's a definitely interesting mechanic of Phoenixes. So you always want to protect your Phoenix when it comes back up because they're really weak when they come back. So that's another thing. Guardian's Blessing gives 100 health 5 physical protections and magical protections, 7 HP and mana restored per minion assist, and 5 MB5 with 3 gold per minion assist. So this definitely helps with Guardians, so you don't want to be last hitting minions so that you can get your role request. Assist with minion kills to gain stacks. Each assist is worth 1 stack. At 50 stacks, Guardian's Blessing evolves, giving 4 gold per 5 seconds. So with Guardians, it's really hard to gain gold because, you know, you're not last hitting minions. You're only getting the assist gold from the minions. And you're going to be rotating a lot to help out your team. So it's definitely important to get, you know, gold per 5 seconds or gold for a minion assist. So pick this up if you are support. And you can see how much damage these fire minions do. Fire minions are definitely not fun to deal with, and that's why getting all 3 phoenixes is so impactful in a conquest game. Oops, why did I just dash there?
Unstoppable.
Now we go on to Hunter's Blessing, which is mainly for your hunters, your carries, even some mage ADCs can buy this, like Soul Chronos Freya. It gives 15% basic attack damage and 10 MB5. Role quest is kill or assist lane minions or enemy gods to gain stacks. 1 stack is for minions and 5 stacks for gods. At 75 stacks, Hunter's Blessing evolves, giving 15% attack speed and additional 15% bonus attack damage. So Hunter's Blessing is really good when it gets evolved. So I definitely do like how they add attack speed and additional bonus attack damage. It'll be making you hit pretty hard. So now we go on to Mage's Blessing. You definitely do want to build starter items at the beginning of the game. Sometimes you can buy tier 2 of items, but generally, to make your life easier, especially for a new player, pick up some blessings. Next up we have Mage's Blessing, which gives 25 bonus ability damage, 2 MP5 per 10% missing mana. The quest is you gain stacks just like all the others. At 75 stacks, Mage's Blessing evolves, gaining 10% cooldown reduction. So this is really good on mages in the mid lane, or even specific hunters and some. See, here is the Phoenix, how he doesn't have much health, but he'll gain the rest of his health as long as we keep him alive. But Mage's Blessing can be built on a lot of different gods and roles. So it could be some ability-based hunters could build this. All mages can. Some solo warriors that benefit from that, especially with the 10% cooldown reduction. So Mage's Blessing is basically old Bumba's Mask, how it gives, you know, that extra damage from abilities. Now we have Warrior's Blessing, which goes on warriors in the solo lane. So Warrior's Blessing gives 100% health, 3% reduction of all damage taken, so kind of like old Vanguard. 40% and mana restored upon damaging an enemy god with a 10% cooldown reduction. So this is kind of like, you know, how solo laners brawl each other. They'll be gaining some health and mana once they damage each other with abilities. The role quest is dealing damage to an enemy god provides 1 stack. This effect can only occur every 10 seconds. Getting a killer assist gives 5 stacks. And at 15 stacks, Warrior's Blessing evolves, giving 10% physical and magical protection. So warriors are your second tank, basically. So your main tank is your guardian, and secondary front line is your warrior. So having some extra protections on your warrior through Warrior's Blessing can be beneficial. Another thing to mention is that there are chalices. Chalice of the Oracle basically gives you consumable wards that can be placed on the map, and you don't have to keep buying wards. So generally this is something for the support to be building. And right now you can see how much health you can see how much health the Phoenix gained, and fire minions just ended the game. You can see how OP they are. But Chalice of the Oracle gives you basically free wards to place on the map, which is generally nice. It ends up paying for itself very well because wards can get kind of expensive, being 50 gold, or even sentries can be more expensive than that. But generally that is what Conquest is about. Builds is another whole topic that I'll do another video on. We can go into, you know, what builds each role should be building, but just kind of wanted to go over what Conquest is about, what each thing does, and basically how to, you know, win a Conquest match. Get all of the towers and kill the Titan. So let me know if you guys have any questions, or if you found this as helpful when, you know, with this little Conquest tour. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!